What's going on, guys? It's Smudgy here, and today I'm going to give you the top 5 Season 3 Warzone loadouts. The servers on Modern Warfare currently won't let me in, hence why we're sat in the Cold War menu, and I will just very simply input the Modern Warfare side of things afterwards. Thank you, Activision. Regardless, I didn't want to just kind of give you 5 loadouts with no scope of how you should use them. I kind of wanted to give something that everyone can identify with the playstyle and then go from there and adjust as necessary. So essentially we're going to look at 5 different playstyle loadouts, so you can pick one and go from there, make tweaks as necessary, because of course everyone is going to have their own preferences on certain things. This meta is very diverse, which is a great thing. So first up, what we're going to talk about for the first one is kind of the really aggressive player. And for this we are going to be running a KRIG MAC10 combo. By far, in my opinion, the most versatile loadout in terms of aggressiveness. Probably not the most well-rounded one. There is a bit of a mid-ground between the KRIG and the MAC10, that kind of mid-range that it can struggle a bit in terms of speed for the KRIG and just range for the MAC10. But on this KRIG, you are going to want to be running the axial arms 3 times, of course, agency suppressor, the 19.7-inch Ranger purely for the bullet velocity. I know some people prefer the takedown. I don't think it's worth it. I'd always prioritise bullet velocity over everything. The field agent grip, and of course this is the 60 round mag in Warzone, only comes up as 50 in Cold War. I'd love it if the servers worked, but they just simply do not. And of course you're going to be pairing that with a MAC10, which is going to have an agency suppressor. This is pretty standard loadout by now, I think a lot of people know this. The 5.9-inch task force, the field agent grip, the standard 53 round drum. I personally prefer the fast mag, but it has felt since Season 3 started that they've really hefted on some ADS time in this, and I'm losing gunfights I shouldn't be able to. So I'm running the 53 round drum at the moment, see how that goes. And I flip between Raider stock and no stock. It's entirely personal preference. Raider stock obviously comes with that slight decrease in hipfire accuracy, which can be really useful if you are being really aggressive. That is just something you have to play around with, see what works best for you. Okay, so let's talk about what you want to be using. If you're more of an all-rounder, a bit less aggressive, well, not totally, sit back and watch the world go by, what do you want to use so you can cover 99% of situations? Of course, that is the AMAX. Now, for your AMAX, I'm sure a lot of you already know this, you're going to want to put on the monolithic suppressor, the Zodiac barrel, the 3-point times VLK optic, the 45 round mag, and the Commando foregrip. I personally would recommend switching your reticle to the T-pose. I just find it's a bit cleaner and easier to aim with. That is just personal preference. And you are going to want to be pairing this up with one of Season 3's most deadly weapons to date. So let's jump back over to Cold War to In the Past Smudge so she can tell you all about that. And you're going to pair that AMAX we have just spoken about with a FARA. Obviously one of the standout weapons within Cold War for the season. I know a lot of people have sang its praises since the start, since its introduction in Season 2, but personally I think in Season 3 it's really going to shine. You're going to want to run a GRU suppressor. Some people really hate the iron sight, so you can run a sight, you're just going to have to substitute one of the other attachments. The 19.5-inch Liberator for that bullet velocity again. There's nothing really that comes close to it in terms of that. The foregrip, the 50 round mag, and finally the KGB skeletal stock to make it as snappy as possible, because of course this is going to be your far closer range gun. In terms of an all-rounder, it's kind of bridging that gap where the AMAX might be a little bit too slow. It's a fantastic gun. Obviously, you might get outgunned by a MAC10 in a really close quarter engagement, but for an all-rounder, you're usually just a fairly casual player of the game, just kind of vibing, having a nice time, want to use the best guns you can to make it easier for yourself. Who doesn't want to do that? So let's move on to the next one. What if you consider yourself to be something a bit more aggressive, but still a sniper, but you also want to have something in your back pocket in case you need to engage in some mid-range engagements? Of course, you're going to be rocking the Kar98, by far the most versatile sniper in the game right now. It has been for a long time, and I'm sure it will continue to be. You're going to want to put on the monolithic suppressor, the 27.6-inch barrel, the TAC laser. I personally prefer the sniper scope. I know some people prefer the variable zoom, but I always consider that to be a bit more of a long range option. And then the stippled grip tape for some extra ADS time. But for those mid to closer range encounters, you're going to want to equip the AK47 from Cold War. So let's hand it back again to In the Past Smudger and she can explain that to you. And so you are going to pair that Kar 98 with the AK47 from Cold War, not the Modern Warfare one. Obviously it's received a fair old buff with the season update and it is a favourite for a lot of people. I have a slightly different build to a lot of people when using it as a sniper support weapon, so do just bear with me. I personally prefer to use the Vision Tech 2 times because I don't feel I need quite often that zoom in, and it helps me control the recoil a bit, whether it's visually or actual gun recoil, I'm not sure, but personally it feels a bit better to me than the 3 times. Of course the Groove Suppressor, pretty standard. The VDV reinforced over the Takedown or the Liberator, it just seems to hit harder. I'm sure there's some science or some statistics behind there that someone like JGod will tell you. Then the Spetsnaz grip, because of course it still does have a fair bit of kick, and that can be quite challenging to control, and you want all the help you can get. And it says on here it's a 50 round mag, we're actually looking at the 45 round mag within Warzone, sorry. It's just one of the things in the game. I'd love it if Modern Warfare would let me on their servers so I could show you the guns side by side, but alas, here we are. Of course, not everyone is a super aggressive sniper. Some of us do like to sit back, watch the world go by and pick off our targets from a long, long way away. And whilst we may all curse the people who do this, we've all definitely done it as well. It is pretty satisfying to get a long range headshot and down, let's be honest. And the HDR, in my opinion, is still the go-to. I know a lot of people do like the Tundra, and if you do that, you'll probably already have your preferred build. But personally, I still prefer the HDR, so here's what I put on it. Of course, the monolithic suppressor, pretty standard. The HDR Pro barrel, not the bull or the 17.2 inch bull barrel. You could put on a tac laser, it's entirely dependent on how snappy you want it to be. The one thing you do want to put on is a variable zoom scope, so make sure that you can see literally everyone on the map. Then the Stalker Scout. Now I either will rock the 9 round mags or the laser depending on just how I'm feeling and what class I've got built up. It doesn't really make that much of a difference. It depends how many engagements you're going to be getting in. If you're playing quads, I'd put on the larger ammo mag, but if you're only playing, duos or solos, then I'd put on the tac laser just to be a bit more snappy. And of course, you are going to want to pair this up with another assault rifle. This time it's my personal favourite from Cold War. And so once again, we're handing it back to In the Past Smudger. And you're going to pair that HDR, that AX50 if you really wanted, or the Tundra if you're more of a Cold War sniper, with the QBZ for this longer range setup, purely because I love the QBZ and I wanted to put it in this video. All jokes aside, it's a fantastic gun. The way I've got it set up here is far more snappy. You do have to like the iron sights. You could always substitute that out for a longer sight if you did need to. Of course, I do have the agency suppressor, the 15.5 inch reinforced heavy, so it can handle those kind of mid to ranging on long gunfights. We have the SFOD speed grip, purely for a bit of movement speed and for horizontal recoil control. And then of course we are going to be equipping the 45 round drum. I know it says 40 drum and 50 drum on this because we're in the Cold War menu. It is the 45 round drum you want to be looking for within Warzone. And finally the Serpent grip, purely for that ADS time. If we want it to be snappy enough to compete with some of the more harder hitting closer range weapons, I want to be able to snap in as quickly as possible. Now this next class setup is all about stealth, all about staying off the radar, all about if you're coming in from the gulag for that second free loadout and you want to make sure you're ghosted, because you're always at a massive disadvantage, especially if you're the last one in the squad. You can drop in with this class and you should be good to go. It's versatile enough to handle most situations that you'll find yourself in towards the end of circle. It is slightly geared towards longer range engagements, just because that's quite often how final circles will play out, with those slightly longer lines of sight, but more than capable to, snap onto someone at mid to shorter range. And that of course is the XM4. Very similar to its counterpart in Modern Warfare, the M4 would also be a perfectly good choice here. I just prefer the recoil of the XM4. I'm using the Vision Tech 2 times because I don't feel I need the 3 times so much, and it helps with visual recoil in my opinion. I might be crazy, but that's personally what I believe. The agency suppressor, 13.5 inch reinforced heavy, does hamper your movement speed a bit, but I think you need that extra bit of kick just to really make it as good as it is. Once again, it says the 50 round fast mag. We're actually talking about the 60 round fast mag, so do just bear that in mind. And then finally the serpent wrap, just to try and negate some of that slower ADS time, make it as snappy as possible, does hamper your sprint to fire time. I don't really find much issue with this. I've dropped in with a couple of games with this and it is super good. And of course we are going to be pairing this with a pistol, still the most broken pistol in the game. I think you all know what it is. It's the Psychos, so let's check out that build. Put on the monolithic suppressor, the full auto attachment and the 80 round mag. Now in order to kind of control some of that recoil, I personally run this VLK Elita. And then you can either run a 5mm tac laser, or if you're really struggling with the recoil, you can run either one of these. I don't personally, so I do just put on the laser. Bit of hip fire accuracy never hurt anyone, and this is a fairly deadly weapon for when the XM4 just is not cutting it. And that is where I'm going to be leaving it today. Let me know what you run in the comments down below. Do you run anything different? What do you think the meta is actually going to turn out to be for Season 3? Because that is still very much up for debate. As always, if you did enjoy the video, give it a like, subscribe if you want to find your way back. Hope you all have a good day, and I'll see you next time. Bye.